If you're looking to buy and sell your property but don't want to pay huge real estate commission, this video is for you. I'm so excited to announce that I joined SellBuySmart initiative, and I'm so honored to have Peter B. Baird today, a creator of this program, bringing wealth of knowledge and more than 30 years of experience in the real estate industry. All right, Peter B. Baird is here today to talk about real estate market and real estate situation. What do you want to start with, Peter? What's on your mind today?
Well, what a pleasure to be on your show, Svetlana. I have the utmost respect for you as a real estate agent and somebody who came to this country, and just your success is amazing, and you're just such a wonderful person. I just want to acknowledge that and tell you it's my honor to be on your show today to discuss what little background I have in real estate. I've been doing this for a couple of decades, so it's fun to share, and I know we have great conversations. So I just want to acknowledge you and what you've done for not only yourself, your family, but for the community. You're just a wonderful being that it's just a pleasure to take this real estate journey together. So that said, what's on everybody's mind that we must talk about is the Real Estate Commission's lawsuit. Does that sound good?
Yes, of course. You think public needs to be aware about this, what's going on? Because some people just have no clue what's going on with all these lawsuits.
It's amazing to me. It's really amazing, but it's finally been on CNBC. It's been on CBS. So yeah, let's just give a little bit of background to it. Just last week, a verdict came down in favor of the plaintiffs, complaining that the National Association of Realtors, acronym for NAR, and Keller Williams and several other real estate groups were guilty of a conspiracy of colluding to keep real estate commissions higher and very high. And it was landmark. They only deliberated for 2 hours and 28 minutes. So the second that happened, the defendants, the real estate industry, there's several lawsuits, and there was one previous to this by the actual DOJ, the Department of Justice, that made an offer, but then a settlement offer, and then they actually withdrew it. So this particular verdict and lawsuit, and although we're still waiting for the judge's final summary on this, but the bottom line is that, forgive me, I just got a call. I just had to turn it off. So this is actually could set a little bit of a precedent, but the fact that they only deliberated for 2 hours and 28 minutes really shows how emphatically obviously the plaintiff's lawyer, Michael Ketchman, actually created his case, and he must have done a great job. So at the end of the day, the challenge is, and what I believe in this, is that it's great and it's also remarkably bad for the real estate industry. And what I mean by is that I think America faces a serious problem in that America is actually house rich and cash poor. In other words, 83% of Americans' wealth is tied up in the form of their home equity at the time of retirement. And the challenge is the last couple of years is real estate commissions has skyrocketed to $100 billion a year industry. And when you're talking about $100 billion of a seller's net worth, is that really equitable to sell a home? Frankly, it's not. So at the end of the day, the situation is that I think that the lawsuit had a merit in that it was trying to break the stranglehold of the 5 to 6%, depending on where you live. I'm licensed in both California and Texas, where the standard total commission to sell your home is 5%. Of course, if everybody understands how that's distributed, that 5% would be broken. Half goes to the listing agent, the other half goes to what's called the selling agent, representing the buyer. So listing represents the seller, selling agent represents the buyer. Here in Texas, it's 3 and 3. So just using $1 million home, and again, just for easy, simple math, thankfully in Texas, that's a rarity. There's not a lot of $1 million homes, whereas in California, you couldn't get a condo for $1 million. So that's $60,000, 6% of that would be split between the two agents. The challenge with the lawsuit it was actually well intended to try to reduce real estate commissions. So reducing real estate commissions, I'm all for. I think they're actually blown up by twice the amount. In other words, I'm not a very popular person amongst my other real estate agents because I believe that there's way too many agents. There's 1.5 million realtors that are members of the NAR, and again, National Association of Realtors. And there's very few transactions, a little bit over 2 million. So if you take that and quantify it on it, do you know how many transactions, Lana, it would be per agent if they were equally distributed amongst all the agents? Take a wild guess.
I didn't do the math, but maybe 1.5.
Oh, sounds like you got a cheat sheet. You're right, 1.5. So that's why there's so much scarcity in this business. Now, again, the 80-20 rule is applied where 80% of the volume is done by very few. In fact, it's probably 90% 10, to be honest with you. The 10 top percent do 90% of the business. But the problem lies that there's way too many real estate agents chasing way too many deals. And then NAR's responsible for that. They should have raised the bar in terms of the quality and the competency of people, because there's the average person, the average agent does vary 2 to 3 deals a year. And that's not the kind of person you want to trust, that level of competency when you're talking about your most important asset. It may not be your largest asset, but it's your singular most important, because the difference between a house and a home, you buy a house, but you move into your home because you create memories of, good and bad, everything from births to changes to Christmases and Thanksgivings and everything. That's what creates a home. And it's a very important part. It's because where we live our life. But when you're talking about trying to sell that home, a life event happens and you need to sell your home. And then you're looking at $1 million or 50,000 on a 5% listing, total listing fee, again, split 50-50, just to liquidate that asset. It doesn't make sense. And that's why there's an entire industry called Justify Your Commissions. And I tell everybody on this podcast, don't take my word for it. Whatever your favorite search engine is, DuckDuckGo, Google, Bing, go ahead and plug in Justify Your Commissions. Lana, guess what is the only industry that comes up?
Yeah, real estate.
It is. Why is that?
I don't know
Because
why, just because
they need to
people
defend.
think that we just making money so easily.
Well, I think, to a great degree, and again, I've got to, the industry is not taking control of it. They turned a blind eye. I mean, you see these shows like $1 Million Listing and, Fix and Flip, and it makes everything look easy. They're having, these wonderful, they're drinking champagne in the afternoon and they flash at the bottom, oh, there's a $300,000 commission to be made. And they do a couple of phone calls and they close the deal and they drive away in their Rolls Royce. Nothing could be further from the truth. Let me just state, I've been doing this 34 years. Real estate is a remarkably noble profession. There, nothing gives me greater joy or gives a real estate agent greater joy than the handing the keys to a first-time home buyer or handing the keys to their final home of a baby boomer that just retired and they want to go take that extra wealth and travel around the world and enjoy the rewards of their work. I mean, it's a remarkably work. And as you know, as being a great agent as you are and a top producer, that we're managing life events. We're not just selling a home. That's the byproduct. You get very intimate with these people and you want to feel like you're creating value for them. And as the real estate prices have just escalated and just skyrocketed, actually with the new technologies, frankly, and again, I'm not popular, but I call the truth. That's why, by the way, a little plug for my new podcast coming out. It's called Get Real About Real Estate. And we're going to be talking about the truths. I'm a myth buster. I'm going to bust all the truths. I am brutally honest. I live my life by a lot of axioms. And I believe in what Mark Twain said, when you tell the truth, you don't need to remember a thing. And I really think that it's imperative for whether you're a baby boomer thinking of selling your home and downsizing, or you're a first-time home buyer or an investor, anything in between, you really need to know the truth. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say that the traditional real estate brokerage model does not serve the real estate consumer. And when I say real estate consumer, just know that I'm saying about buyers and sellers. They haven't served it. So at the end of the day, back, and I'll fold in the lawsuit to this, the real fundamental question that we have to ask is, what is in the best interest of the real estate consumer, right?
So what is the solution?
Well, first of all, so back to the lawsuit, and I'll answer it through this. So what's in the best interest is to pay less fees, certainly. So Michael, no, I keep wanting to saying Sussman, but Michael Ketchman said, again, the plaintiff, the lead attorney for the plaintiff that won the case and won it in 2 hours. And this thing's been going on for 4.5 years. And 90% of real estate agents, I'm sad to say, we're not aware of this. But because I owned a brokerage before I moved here to Texas, I've been watching this for 4 years. And I was probably the only person that celebrated. I didn't pop champagne, but I was excited about the verdict because I thought it should bring to light the fact that America has been overpaying commissions by, in my opinion, by $50 billion. And that a lot of that. So there is collusion. I hate to say it, there is collusion because the NAR feels they have a code of ethics. And in the very first line of their code of ethics in Article 1, it says protect and preserve the best interests of the client. So how is paying so much money doing that? It's not. Is that hypocritical? I'll let you be the judge. It's not a rhetorical question, but you be the judge if it's hypocritical. So they've turned a blind eye because here's what the issue is. Let's say somebody wants to list their mother's home and only charge her 1%. She's going to move into a convalescent home. So they go to their broker and they say, look, I'm going to charge here in Texas, we're going to give the full 3% to the agent representing the buyer, Mr. Broker, and I want to only charge 1%. Do you know that that person is going to have one heck of a time getting them to go off, quote, the industry standard? In fact, yesterday alone, and I can't name the name of the, I want to say it because I love to throw them under the bus, but I won't. But another agency told my sister, who's selling a piece of dirt, she lost her home up in the fires in Santa Rosa, horrible fires, and she's got a beautiful lot there. Most of the homes are all rebuilt. She finally decided to sell it. And we have a new family member, her new daughter-in-law is actually with this large brokerage. And she had to plead with them over 2 days to get them to do a reduced fee. And they said, well, that's not our industry standard. Thankfully, they finally equivocated only because it was a family member. Now that is sad that she had to fight that hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now the NAR knows this. So yeah, real estate commissions are negotiable. Anything, and yeah, they'll negotiate up, but they won't accept it. So that is where the NAR is certainly guilty. The NAR and seriously, all these other brokerages that were named, they're guilty as what? All get out. They're guilty. So that's the good thing that was brought to light. However, the solution that they're recommending, they went after. So if everybody doesn't know this, and please don't take my word for this, check all this stuff out. I'm very well background. If I don't know a number, or if I don't know things to know specifically, I'll say I need to know. I need to get that to you, so I don't know that. But anything I'm telling you right now is because I'm just not pulling it out of the air. It's because of the research that I've done, because I've been following this in the DOJ suit and for over 4 years, is that they went after the low-hanging fruit, again, of that other half of the commission. Their premise for going after real estate commissions in general were based on taking the buyer's agent, and they were complaining that the seller should not be paying for the buyer's agent's fee. So that was kind of the Achilles heel of it. But here's the thing, if you talk to 90, well, let me ask you this. All things being aside, do you spend more time with buyers or sellers? Which are more intensive in terms of your time commitment, buyers or sellers?
It depends on the buyer, depends on the seller.
Okay.
But look for to find a good home. It may take time, but sometimes it takes a long time to find a buyer for a house too. So you do this open houses, you put it on market, you constantly thinking how to sell it. So it may take a long time too. So I would say it 50-50.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, you're 1%, because 99% of agents that I've asked that question to immediately say buyers. Buyers are more intensive. And buyers are actually, if they're more intensive and there's more an investment, they're actually, if there's any, both sides need equal competent representation, right? But they're more required. especially with first-time home buyers that really need hand-holding with a competent agent. So the
Yeah.
bottom line is buyers are more intense. And so the challenge is, back to the lawsuit, is that their solution, and that because of the Achilles heel that they found, is that they're suggesting that the seller should not be paying for the buyer's agent, that the buyer should pay their own. So in other words, if they had it their way, and I'll leave that, let's just use that $1 million, and we're going to use a Texas 6% as an example. Instead of a Texas person, let's say that Texas person just all of a sudden they have a nice paying job, and I'm just going to blow the numbers up and say all of a sudden that the wife had twins and they immediately need to get into something new. So under the way that, and this is what they really need to think about, that nobody's gamed this out. You got to be, if you're thinking ahead, you got to be like Bobby Fischer, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. And nobody's thought about this. And this is where we really, you and I and other real estate agents, need to raise this consciousness to get this to the DOJ, because if the government gets involved, they're going to screw it up. I mean, nobody loves America more than me, but at the end of the day, I believe in the axiom from Thomas Paine in 1774, when he said, the government that governs least is the government that governs best. I don't think they're going to have any great solution. We want to let the free market and the free enterprise work this out. But if they had their way, again, let's say this family that wants to up move, and 25% of buyers are moving up, about 30 to 40 are moving down. There's more of a percentage actually downsizing. And then the rest are all first-time home buyers, right? Now,
Yeah.
some of them are, moving out of state and they're not repurchasing or whatever, but that's pretty much the way the pie split. So a strong majority, as you know, that are growing families, or certainly need to upgrade the size of their home. So let's say they're very financially off. And again, just to show the metrics and how their solution is completely flawed, is that, let's say, so they pay the 30,000 instead of paying 60,000. However, the buyer's agent decides to get paid, which I'll get into in a minute, which is going to completely kill the market as well. They go ahead and they pay the 30,000, and then they need to have that same agent represent them on, let's say, on a $2 million home. Well, what's 5%? What's 2.5% of that? That's 50 grand. Or excuse me, I'm using the 6%. That's $60,000. So they pay 30 to sell it, and then they paid another 3% of that 2 million, which is now 60,000. They've paid 90,000 to conduct both transactions. Whereas under the regular, as it is now, they paid 60,000 because they don't have to pay the buyer's agent. Nobody's thought of that. I'm shocked that nobody's thought about the practicality of this, just saying we need to get rid of all buyer's agents. Because here's the challenge: with 40% of first-time home buyer, or the market being first-time home buyers, this is extraordinary. Lana, figure this out. Listen to this. What is a buyer? They're using an FHA, 3.5%, maybe a conforming 3% down. How in the heck are they going to come up with another 1 to 2 to 3% to properly compensate somebody that can really navigate and help them through their most important purchase? The stepping stone, the original stepping stone to create wealth and the American dream, they're going to have nobody. So how are they going to afford that unless they have a gift from a very willing and well-funded family member? It's never going to happen. So guess what? The market, buying demand, everything's about supply and demand economics. Adam Smith, his theorems are alive and well. He was brilliant. One of the few economic theorems that has been proven infallible, right? And what's going to happen? That demand is going to go down because they don't have the money. They're going to wait, and that's going to affect the market value, because we know it's about supply and demand. So if the demand goes down, obviously the prices are going to crash as well. And so it really doesn't serve the market, their solution. It's ridiculous. So that's where we're at.
Yes, and of course, I agree with you that the commissions, probably with the prices on the homes went up, the commissions are quite, high too. And
But it's not fair to throw one half out. It doesn't, you're throwing, not only, you got to remember, by affecting the buyer, you're affecting the seller. I mean, it's a closed ecosystem that works together, and they don't really understand. So that's why I created SellBuySmart. So it's
Can you tell us
too
about
much
the
to go into,
SellBuySmart?
but at the end of the day, We're the only group in the United States that I know that actually reinvests a significant portion, sometimes all with one program, all of our commission, so clients net the most money possible, so they have more of their own money to either invest in that home or for a more secure retirement if they're downsizing. So it's really excited to bring that. We've been doing that for 5 years in California, sold hundreds of people. Now we're recently, just a year ago, here in Texas, and just getting our feet under. And of course, the market changed with the increase in interest rates, but it's really excited to bring a solution that's already been proven with the existing system. In a perfect world, I'd love to see the NAR adapt the system that we've come up with, because it's not complex, but the reason it's called SellBuySmart, by the way, if you'd ask, would you ask that? Why
Of
it's called
course.
Sell
Of course.
is
Tell us
because
about
most
Sell by
people,
Smart.
yeah, because the majority of people are not first-time home buyers. They need to sell to extract that equity to use that as their new equity. So that strategically, that's why it's not buy and sell, it's sell and buy smart. So again, we're really excited to bring that to the North Texas right now, and are expanding. We're growing, we're recruiting wonderful people like yourself to the model, and it just, I think it's going to grow. And we could not be with a better platform than we are at EXP. EXP is a wonderful company that embraced this contradictory model. I talked to a lot of people that, I mean, I've had real estate agents tell me I'm taking food off their table by offering my commissions back to people. So it's been really interesting. But I just ask, well, what's in the best interest of the consumer? And that
So,
shuts them
yeah.
up.
Give me an example if like people selling the home, for example, for around $700,000 and
Okay.
want to downsize and buy something around $450,000. Can you just give us an example how much they will save on the commission using Sell by Smart?
Okay. Let me do that. Let me go to, we have a calculator. And if anybody wants to do this, they can go to smart-downsize.com. So we have this wonderful, where is it?
Okay, let's do that. Let me go.
What do you want? Give me some
Let
numbers.
me
So we
go.
have a calculator so
Yes.
everybody can find out. What would you like to know?
Okay.
This is a downsizer. This is our favorite clients. And this is the most, we do this more than anything. And it looks like we got about 6 minutes left. Give me some numbers, and I've got the answer for you right now, how much they'll save and how much we'll invest in.
$700,000 home for sale.
They're going to sell that. And they're going to
Yes.
downsize to what size?
450.
I'm going to go 755 because my thumbs, and they're going to go 465. So the savings would be 19,007. So like when we say that average up to or including 7,500. So is our investment in you.
19,000.
So we charge how we do that is a 1% list fee. So here in Texas, we charge 4%. We give the full, we love buyer's agents. So we give the full 3% to the buyer's agents. We work for a third.
Because they work harder, you think, right?
But here's the thing. When you talk about 700, 2% savings is $14,000. And $14,000 is they're going to retain that to be able to buy a better home. And guess what? When they buy that better home, we're going to rebate them another. They 450, that was 455. We rebate them 1%. So the 17 plus that is how we got 19,750. So it's just one of the many programs. We have a move up program that's actually more aggressive as well. But at the end of the day, it's all about, because it's not about us. It's about what's in the best interest of the real estate consumer. And that's just one of the programs that we offer that we're really excited to bring to Texas. So as a wrap up to this, any final questions for me?
I think that's just the beginning. We want to know more. We want to see on the real numbers how people can save by selling and, moving up, buying the bigger house, or if they downsize. And we want to see the numbers, how they can save on the real estate commission. And I think it's just maybe a topic for the next conversation.
Fantastic. And also we have a main website too, that's SellBuy and the word smart,
Yes.
SellBuySmart.com. And it has all 4 programs, my background, and all the different calculators for the 4 separate programs that we have. If you're moving out of the way, you're only selling in an area and you're moving maybe to a different state to be closer to your grandkids, we have a special program for that. If you're buying, you're a first-time home buyer, there's no sales involved. So you can see we do specialize in dual transactions, but then we have the BuySmart program, which is just a 1% rebate. And my first client here just a couple of months ago could not have bought his first home without that 1% rebate. So we helped them. And we also work work very closely with all lenders. We love lenders because at the end of the day, hate to tell you, real estate realtors and agents, lenders are more important than us because
They give you money.
they create the follow the money. It's all about the money. So
Right.
anyway, Lana, thank you for having me on. And everybody remember, we're going to be having, Lana and I are going to be doing this often. And she's going to come over to my new podcast that should be launching in the next couple of weeks, if not sooner, definitely before this 2023 holidays, called Get Real About Real Estate.
Okay.
So
We'll see
anybody
you
has
there.
fantastic, Lana. What a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Peter.
for having me on, and my best happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your beautiful Brown family.
And all the contact information of Peter and my contact information in the description and in the comments.
Fantastic. Be good.
Great.